Gennaro Hospital Daily Update. Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The recaps for Tuesday, November episode of General Hospital reveal that Dante Falconer hired Nathan West once more, while Charlotte Cassadine and her partners plotted. Plus, lab break-in. Plans were changed when Gio Palmieri and Emma Scorpio Drake found Ned Quartermaine down outside Bobby's. Dante, who learned that Anna Dion was on leave from the PCPD for a WSB assignment, was getting used to being the acting commissioner. He called Nathan to the PCPD and asked him to come back to help with the ongoing cases. Nathan agreed enthusiastically. The two former partners talked about Dante's worries regarding Anna's work with the WSB. Nathan noted that it must have been a tough choice for Mayor Laura Collins to make the mobster son acting commissioner while Anna was away. Dante assigned Nathan to be Chase's partner. Dante revealed that Laura had also expressed similar concerns to him, but she insisted that he play the role. He then assigned Nathan to partner with Harrison Chase, but cautioned him that Chase had blind spots regarding Willow Tate. He explained she was the main suspect in Drew Cain's shooting due to their past marriage. Officially welcoming his old partner back to the police force, Dante returned Nathan's gun and badge and they shared a friendly bro hug. Chase and Brook Lynn argued over his support of Willow. At the Cordanes' home, Chase found himself confronted by Brook Lynn Quartermaine. He disclosed to his wife that he was actively trying to clear Willow's name and had been visiting her in Pentonville. The couple argued about Chase's conviction that Michael Corinthos had shot Drew and was framing Willow, as well as the risk he was taking by investigating this as a private citizen. Brook Lynn was frustrated that her husband was jeopardizing his career over this matter. But Chase maintained that Willow was innocent. You can't be sure Willow is innocent any more than you can be sure Michael is guilty, Brook Lynn yelled. Brook Lynn reminded Chase of when he lost his badge before. Brook Lynn reminded Chase of how heartbroken he was when he lost his badge after hitting Valentine Cassadine. She couldn't understand why he would be willing to face that again for Willow, especially since she had a competent lawyer in Alexis Davis and the backing of Drew. Chase inquired as to whether she was more troubled by the prospect of him proving Michael's guilt than she was by her genuine concern for his professional life. Brook Lynn admitted that she didn't want to accept it could be true, but she knew her cousin was capable of violence. Michael's guilt wasn't something Brook Lynn wanted Chase to prove. She also didn't want her husband to be the one to show that Michael was guilty and requested Chase to stay away. Chase shouted that if Willow was wrongly convicted while he did nothing, he would hold himself responsible. In the end, he told his wife that she didn't have to believe Willow was innocent or that Michael was guilty. He asked her to understand that he needed to support his convictions. I may not agree with your actions, but your motivations for them only make me love you more, Brook Lynn admitted in a setup. Na attempted to trap Michael. Michael asked Justinda Bracken to meet him at the Metro Court Garden as part of Her scheme to catch Willow's ex Nina. Reeves arrived at the restaurant with W.Y. Corinthos, whom she had promised an ice cream sundae. She smirked when she saw Michael with the escort. When Wei came over to his father's table, Michael introduced him to Justinda, explaining that she was also Nina's assistant. Nah. Tried to take W.Y. away, but Michael insisted that his son stay with him and Justinda for the treat. Stepping aside with Michael for a private conversation, Nina questioned his choice to let her grandson spend time with the call girl, and Michael confronted her for trying to trap him. Willow unexpectedly showed up at the restaurant when she threatened to tell the family court judge about his partner. Michael reminded Nina of her past and said that by the time of the visitation hearing, Willow would be in jail. Unfazed, Nina decided to document the family outing to show the judge who Michael was letting near his son. Michael calmly said she could do that, but warned he would have her removed from the hotel, which his mother owned, and locked out of the Crimson office where she worked. Michael called Nas bluff back at the table and told W.Y. and Jinda that Na wanted to take their picture. She smiled as she took a picture with her phone. Later, W.Y. was enjoying a sundae with his dad and Justinda when Willow arrived at the restaurant and was shocked to see them looking so comfortable together. Danny, Rocco and Charlotte laid in wait. Danny, Morgan along with Rocco Falconer and Charlotte made their way to the hospital, eagerly anticipating the arrival of Britt Westbourne as she reported for her shift. Their mission was to discreetly acquire her key fob for Gio and Emma. Rocco, concerned about the potential consequences, urged Danny to think twice about their plan, fearing it would only provide Drew with more leverage against him. However, Danny was resolute in his decision to be involved. Subsequently, Charlotte laid out her strategy, suggesting that the boys create a diversion to keep Britt occupied while she stealthily retrieved the fob from Britt's purse. Elizabeth was concerned about Lucas' new place. Elizabeth Baldwin was thrilled when Lucas Jones told her he was moving in with Marco Rios. However, she had doubts about his choice to move into Windmere with Jen Sidwell. Lucas assured her that he knew about Sidwell's supposed crimes and that he and Marco would have their own separate wing. He added that even though it was soon, he was ready to take the risk of living with his boyfriend. When Liz accused Lucas of trying to sabotage his relationship by finding an excuse to leave, he acknowledged that she was correct. Emma and Gio located Ned's body. Emma and Gio were heading to the PCU campus when they discovered Ned lying outside Bobby's, struggling to breathe. Gio called out to Ned, referring to him as Grandpa, and hurried to his side. However, when he looked back to ask Emma to call for help, she was gone. Concerned about not finding a pulse, Gio was about to start CPR when Britt came out of the restaurant and took over. Emma was on the phone with emergency services as Britt performed CPR while they waited for the ambulance. Liz and Lucas were at the hub when Britt arrived with the paramedics and she informed them that the patient was Ned Quartermaine. Britt couldn't examine Ned, but updated the teens. Britt tried to follow Liz and Lucas into an exam room, but was denied entry since she wasn't part of the medical team. When Gio and Emma reached the hospital, they encountered Charlotte, Rocco, and Danny, who mentioned they were there to retrieve Britt's FOB. As Britt approached the teens, she shared that Ned's heart rhythm had been restored, but he was still in danger, and Gio expressed his gratitude for saving his grandfather's life. Then Britt noticed her bag was missing and asked if anyone had seen it. Charlotte looked away staring at the ground, and Britt hurried off to check if she had left it in the ambulance. Olivia gave Lulu a heads up on Rocco and Danny. In the Quartermaine kitchen, Lulu Spencer came with a housewarming gift for Tracy. Quartermaine, but Olivia Quartermaine informed her that Tracy had gone to a spa. Additionally, Olivia said that she overheard Rocco and Danny discussing Britt, but that they stopped when they saw her. Lulu disclosed that Britt has been a challenging subject for her, and Rocco while they were having tea with her former mother-in-law. She also shared her worries that their son was not being truthful with her and Dante about the time he spent with Britt. Lucas confirms Ned's heart attack. Empty-handed, Britt walked back into the emergency department where Danny, Charlotte, and Rocco asked her about Ned's recovery. Charlotte then gently nudged Rocco, prompting him to ask Britt if she had located her bag. She hadn't, and she requested that they return to Bobby's to search for it at the diner. Just as their friends were entering the elevator, Emma and Gio arrived, and Britt explained that she had sent Charlotte, Danny, and Rocco on a mission to keep them from worrying about Ned. Meanwhile, in the exam room, Lucas confirmed that Ned had suffered a heart attack. When Liz pointed out that the medication wasn't effective, Dr. Jones decided that if blood flow did not improve, they would need to perform a coronary bypass. Olivia gets the bad news as Charlotte plotted with her plotting partners. Back at the hub, Britt stepped aside for Olivia and Lulu, and Olivia broke down when Gio informed them that they believed Ned had a heart attack. Olivia expressed her gratitude to Gio and Emma for saving Ned, but Gio credited Britt, stating that she was the one who truly ensured Ned's survival. Then Lucas emerged and informed the group that Ned had indeed experienced a severe heart attack and would require emergency surgery to remove the blockage if he didn't respond to the medication. Later, Emma called Charlotte to inform the others that their plan was cancelled, since Gio didn't want to leave the hospital. However, since they had found Britt's purse at Bobby's, Charlotte, Rocco, and Danny decided to break into Professor Henry Dalton's lab on their own. General Hospital spoilers for the week of November. TH suggest that Drew Cain will get mighty jealous once he realizes just how strong Willow Tate's bond with Harrison Chase is. So, could he concoct a scheme to get the cop fired? GH's weekly preview shows Chase visiting Willow at Penville. Willow seems worn down from prison life, so Chase will grab his friend's hand to comfort her. The promo zeroes in on the Sum's hands intertwined as they gaze into each other's eyes during Chase's visit. Meanwhile, a close-up of Drew's raging face is shown, so the congressman won't be overly pleased to see his fiancée with her ex in that capacity. Interestingly enough, Dante Falconer is heard in the voiceover saying, Chase has been to see her 3 times since She's been to Pentonville. There's been a lot of mention about Chase potentially getting his badge taken away for his interference in Willow's case. Right now, the woman is the prime suspect in Drew's shooting, and even police Commissioner Anna Dean has warned Chase about possibly compromising the investigation because he thinks Willow is innocent. Chase hasn't exactly crossed any lines for Willow or done anything against the book, but everyone, including his wife, Brook Lynn Chase, have pointed out how biased he is where Willow is concerned. Drew is working overtime to exonerate Willow and to get her release from Pentonville. Despite that, it takes two to tango. Drew's jealous rage will steer clear from Willow, but zero in on Chase. Drew's very obsessed with his gal pal, so he won't see this as a Willow problem, but a Chase problem. Could Drew plot a scheme to get Chase fired from the PCPD? This would not only cause chaos in Chase's professional life, but it's bound to cause friction in his personal life, too. After all, even Brook Lynn has expressed worry over Chase defending Willow and losing his job. Dante's comments about Chase being at Pentonville to see Willow numerous times wasn't placed in the GH preview by accident. So, is the ABC soap foreshadowing trouble for the PCPD officer? It's not hard to think that if Drew stumbles across the canoodling, he may take advantage of the situation. It'll kill him to witness it all. But Drew is also someone who thinks quickly on his feet. Could he snap a shot of Willow and Chase holding hands? This is completely inappropriate for Chase to do, as both a cop and a husband. Could Drew also leak the photo on social media or hand it over to the press? Chase would be sure to lose his job and potentially break up his marriage. General Hospital. Spoilers hint that there's no way Drew is going to let this slide. So, regardless of whatever he chooses to do, Chase better watch his back, as the cutthroat congressman will now have him on his revenge radar. In a stunning turn of events that has left Port Charles reeling, Dante Falconer made a decision that no one saw coming. One that's already setting off shockwaves across the entire police department and the tangled personal lives of everyone connected to the Corinthos clan. After weeks of tension, mounting frustration, and a deep sense of injustice, Dante has gone against internal advisories and rehired Nathan West, the once disgraced but ever honorable detective who had been dismissed under questionable circumstances following his controversial handling of the Sidwell operation. For fans who have watched Dante battle his own moral compass while struggling to uphold the law in a town where loyalty often means more than justice, his decision to bring Nathan back into the fold signals a fiery new chapter in both men's careers and their friendship. Nathan's return doesn't just promise redemption for him. It reopens old wounds that many thought were long healed, particularly with the Falconer family and the lingering ghosts of Lulu's legacy. The moment Dante walked into the precinct and placed that reinstatement file on Jordan's old desk, murmur spread like wildfire through the department halls. Nathan West was back. And this time he wasn't playing by anyone's rules but his own. The circumstances surrounding Dante's decision were murky at best, as whisper suggested that Commissioner Chase had His doubts about reinstating Nathan after the internal affairs inquiry remained unresolved. But Dante, who's been stepping up in Chase's absence due to personal issues, decided to trust his gut. And his gut told him Nathan's expulsion had been orchestrated. It's becoming increasingly apparent that Sidwell's shadowy influence still looms over Port Charles. And Nathan might be the only man with enough inside knowledge to piece together what really went down in those fateful days leading up to the botched operation that nearly cost Sonny his freedom. As Dante signed the paperwork, the tension in his jaw said it all. This wasn't just about reinstating an officer. It was about taking control of a situation that had spiraled far beyond his reach. And for Nathan, walking back into that precinct felt both like coming home and stepping into a war zone. His quiet thanks man to Dante was met with a knowing nod. A silent pact between two men who had been through hell and were now ready to go back in if it meant saving their city from imploding. But the precinct drama is only the beginning. Across town, the hospital corridors were buzzing with chaos of a different kind as Britt West found herself in the middle of a life or death emergency involving none other than Ned Quartermaine. What started as a routine checkup quickly escalated into a frantic race against time when Ned collapsed during a board meeting at the Quartermaine mansion. Olivia's screams echoed through the halls as Britt, who just happened to be there consulting on a separate case, sprang into action. With no time to wait for an ambulance, Britt ordered everyone out of the room, ripped off her jacket, and began chest compressions while calling for portable defibrillation. For all her complicated past, this was Britt at her finest, calm, decisive, and determined. The intensity of that moment could have been ripped straight from a movie. As Britt barked orders at Brook Lynn to fetch the oxygen, while Tracy clutched her pearls, muttering about how this family could never escape tragedy. When the first shock didn't work, Britt didn't falter. She kept going, driven by a mix of medical instinct and emotional resolve, whispering under her breath, "Come on, Ned. Don't you dare quit on us." On the third shock, Ned gasped, his eyes flying open in confusion and relief. Olivia broke down, sobbing, clutching Britt's hand, whispering, "You saved him." For a brief moment, even Tracy was speechless. A rarity that didn't go unnoticed. The aftermath of Ned's collapse revealed a deeper mystery that could ripple through the Quartermaine empire. Britt's medical report hinted at something far more sinister than simple stress or exhaustion. Traces of an unidentifiable toxin were found in his bloodstream. Theories immediately began circulating. Could someone have deliberately targeted Ned? Perhaps as part of a power struggle for ELQ, or was this connected to the ongoing sabotage linked to Nina Reeves' corporate games with Crimson and Aurora? Britt, now both savior and investigator, promised Olivia she wouldn't rest until she found out what caused the near-fatal collapse. "You don't just accidentally ingest what I found in his system," she told Dante later that night when he came to check on Ned. The combination of events, Dante rehiring Nathan, Britt saving Ned, and Nina's machinations, Spiraling out of control felt less like coincidence and more like fate pulling the strings behind Port Charles's curtain. Speaking of Nina, her latest attempt to manipulate those strings backfired spectacularly in what many are already calling one of her most humiliating downfalls yet. After months of scheming, Nina believed she had finally set the perfect trap to expose Carly and Drew's renewed alliance, thinking she could leverage insider information to reclaim her standing at Crimson and humiliate her rivals publicly. But the self-styled queen of manipulation underestimated her opponents and overestimated her own allies. The plan, which involved feeding a falsified tip to the Aurora media division through a supposedly trusted insider, was supposed to make Carly look like she was funding illegal imports through the Corinthos coffee warehouses. What Na didn't know was that Drew had already caught wind of her informant, a temporary accountant with ties to Martin Gay's offshore network, and decided to turn the tables. By the time Na smugly handed over her evidence to a supposed federal contact who was actually an undercover associate of Drew's hired to play along, the trap had already sprung shut on her. When Nina realized the federal contact she'd met in that candle-lit restaurant was actually working for Drew and Carly, the look on her face was pure soap gold. The betrayal cut deep, because she thought she was finally regaining control of the narrative that's long painted her as Port Charles's perpetual villainess. But instead, she walked right into a setup that left her publicly embarrassed and professionally crippled. Valentine, who had initially supported her plan out of misplaced loyalty, confronted her afterward in the Metro Court lounge. His voice was cold, almost weary. "You keep thinking you can win by playing everyone, Nina," he said, swirling his drink slowly. "But all you ever do is lose more of yourself." The sting of those words hit Na harder than any public exposure could. By the time she returned home, she had already received an email from Crimson's parent company, placing her on administrative review. Just like that, her empire of manipulation had crumbled. Another trap she set. Another one that failed.